Planet Dolan.
Hi, I'm Sprinkles. I have done a lot of stuff in my life. My first ever job, I was a fairy for kids' parties. I've also worked as a barista, I've worked in a vaudeville theatre as a stage kitty for burlesque, and now I am a librarian. And it is a wild job, like more wild than any of these other jobs, even the fairy one. Okay, so I started out the day, it was pretty average. Working in the library, you do some returns, you do some shelving, people come up to the desk, ask you for help to find books, and then, you know, as the day always goes, the people on the public PCs come up to you and ask you for help with mundane computer issues, because they never learn how to use a computer, and that's going to be your issue now. We have a couple of very, special people on the public PCs that constantly require help of interesting varieties. So this can range from, hey, I need to print out a photo of this person from Facebook, which is really awkward, particularly when it is happy people at a party and you can't see the person asking you in that photo. Feels a little bit creepy. Some of our other people need help uploading pictures to dating sites, resizing photos for said dating sites, post mentally scarring pictures on said dating sites. But this one was a bit special. So he comes in most days, and I refer to him as the man with the large shoes because it is the most polite way that I can describe him. So he came up to the desk and asked for help finding Reese Witherspoon. I'm not sure why he needed to find Reese Witherspoon, but I went back with him to the computer and I found her Facebook page and went, there you go. Wandered back to the desk. 2 minutes later, he comes back up and goes, I need help finding Reese Witherspoon. Now, I've just found Reese Witherspoon for him, so I am understandably confused. I wander back to the computer with him, and he is trying to find somewhere on that page that he can speak to Reese Witherspoon. He's now gone onto her website, trying to find somewhere to speak to Reese Witherspoon. He has several Google tabs open on how to speak to Reese Witherspoon. I found a mailing address for him, but this wasn't good enough. He needed to speak to her in person. I don't know how he imagined he was going to do that since I'm in Australia, and I'm fairly certain that Reese Witherspoon isn't. But he was determined that he had to speak to Reese Witherspoon. I had to explain to him that celebrities aren't like normal people and you can't just call them up on the phone. He did not seem happy with this answer, but I was allowed to go back to my regular job of returning books, shelving books, helping people with uploading really disturbing photos onto social media. So I returned to this library again the next week. And lo and behold, the man with the large shoes calls me over again. This time, he needs help with how to contact a random woman with a bikini pic as her profile, and I'm starting to get really nervous about this. None of this seems good, so I tell him I'm sorry, I'm busy doing something else, bye, and get one of my co-workers who is less tech savvy to go over, stare at the computer, and go, for about 5 minutes. He is not happy with this, calls me over again, and I explain to him that, sorry, she doesn't have you as a friend, so guess you can't talk to her. It was really uncomfortable. Fast forward, next week, back at this library again. And I finally find out why he has been trying so hard to contact Reese Witherspoon. Of course, I've had my theories. I've been thinking about this for 2 weeks. It could be anything. He could be trying to save her from an assassination attempt. Or he could be trying to catfish her like the man with the disturbing pictures on his dating profile that were not always him, and sometimes it was his face on another man's body. What if the man with the large shoes wanted to be Reese Witherspoon's husband? Consort? Something? We just don't know. But my co-worker, who is better at detective work than I am, has finally cracked the case. After weeks of trying desperately to contact her, failing every time, he really wanted her to get vaccinated for a disease that doesn't exist and doesn't have a vaccine anymore. He, in the end, I think he may have sent an email off to her PR agent. That was the best we could do for him, and I'm just glad he wasn't catfishing her. So some of the other interesting people on the computers are not quite as innocuous as trying to catfish Reese Witherspoon. Some of them are a little bit more hands-on in how you deal with them. In this case, there was a woman who came up to the desk, covered in some unknown liquid, claiming that somebody had thrown something over her and she was being attacked in the library. Oh, it's such a tragedy, how could this happen? And my co-workers had been dealing with her all day. I was fresh and happy, new on the shift, hadn't actually dealt with any customers yet. This was great. And then I did not actually have to deal with this woman in person. Thank God. However, I did have to deal with the person who used the computer after her. Now, he sat down to the computer, he had his booking, his card number was in, he tried to put his password in. For some reason, every time he clicked the key, 3 little dots would pop up from one keystroke. He couldn't put his password in for some reason. Every time, the keyboard would just type extra characters. So, he wanders up to the desk, asks us for help. I wander down because I am the youngest staff member, so anything tech related gets immediately thrown to me because older people are terrified of technology and even more terrified of messing up someone else's technology. So I tap at the keyboard, 3 little dots pop up from the one keystroke. It's not right. Check the back of the computer, everything's plugged in, unplug it, plug it back in, turn the computer off and on again. Still doing it. So, at that point, I inspect the keyboard. It's a little bit damp. It's a bit strange. So, I go out the back, find a new keyboard, wander back out, replace the keyboard. As I am walking back with the keyboard in hand, my co-worker, who had been dealing with the lady from before, looks at the object in my hands with horror. It's dawned on her what's happened. She smells it. I smell it. It smells like wine. Why does it smell like wine? And then we realize she's thrown up all over the keyboard. Wine everywhere. She somehow covered herself in her wine vomit, covered the keyboard, destroyed it. It's never going to work again. And then fled the library after claiming that somebody threw something at her. And it really made sense in that moment why the people on either side of that computer looked so uncomfortable. And of course, I have a bit of a vomit phobia, so I drop the keyboard, run to the bathroom as fast as my legs can carry me, and spend the next half an hour scrubbing every inch of my skin. I still don't feel clean.
If you guys have ever thought about joining Planet Dolan, if you have a 5 to 10 minute story time of your own, submit a script and voice recording to story@planetdolan.com. Check the description box below for further details. That's it for this video, and have a good one!